Leaders, real life leaders.
Hey guys, a lot of times you hear me interviewing lots of amazing guests, but today you get to hear me being interviewed by someone else. Check it out.
That's awesome. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chantel. With you speaking, it kind of just reminded me of all the things that I do that I should not be doing. But like you said, entrepreneurs, we like to really, take control of things. And really what you're talking about, I think, is just letting go of that control, and letting go of that so that you can entrust others to kind of delegate those tasks that you're not in love with, or that maybe take up much of your time, because your time should be spent in more important places. Because, like they say that your representation, you're a representation of the tasks that you do every single day, right? So if your task every single day is just showing up to your job from 9 to 5, come home, eat and sleep, and that's what you're really going to be represented as. But if you're an action taker, you're an entrepreneur, you're somebody who wants to grow, you're somebody who wants to focus on having productive daily habits, you need to start building these foundations. And I think you made some really, really great points on building those foundations of starting with small delegating tasks, kind of see how that workflow goes. And that was really powerful. Thank you so much. Guys, we're going to let you guys chime in. If you want to ask Chantel any questions specifically for her, please just either unmute yourself or go ahead and go in the chat box and ask questions. I actually got one for you, Chantel, that I wanted to start off with, because I thought it'd be interesting. So when you're starting off, I don't know about you, but me, I live and die by my calendar. My calendar is color coded in multiple different ways. Everybody knows me. I time block everything. I'm up early, I sleep late. I'm finding places where I can find time for, my $10,000, which I color code as gold in my calendars, which nobody can really touch. And I have, actually, my goal is priceless. It's my family time, right? But then I color code everything else in there. It's like, how did you manage in the beginning to start letting go of control? What steps do you take to really build trust in that team member of yours, whoever that person was, that first person? How did you let go? What steps do you take to just build that trust little by little with them?
I think one of the biggest things is for you to realize that the first person you hire will not most likely be the person that you end up using for that. And so you probably will have to go through 2 to 3 people. And it's really because of yourself, because you don't really know what you want. And so now I've gotten to the point where everything is so spelled out. So we can hire people really easily because we've already put down all their KPIs, key performance indicators. Here's a checklist of everything that I want done. And here's, it just kind of really maps everything out. When you first hire that person, you really don't really know exactly what you're going to do. And so then you can get a little bit frustrated, and you need them to be able to help you figure out different things. And so what I say is, I always say God can steer a moving ship, but he cannot steer one that's sitting still. So if you think about a boat, if you can't turn it if it's just sitting still. So you have to take action, and you have to just move forward. So you first hire your first assistant, and you will figure it out. Again, my opinion is, if every person who's listening to this can definitely afford somebody for $5 an hour, and I will help you find somebody who's amazing at that rate, and you will just start working with them and start handing them things to do. Okay, first I want to have you do that. It's hard for me to say what you're going to have them do, because obviously every job, there's so many different things that you're going to have them do. But I truly believe that, I'll talk about the house manager. I believe that every single person should have a house manager. They shouldn't be doing your own laundry. You shouldn't be cooking your own meals unless you truly enjoy cooking, and that's something that you enjoy doing. You shouldn't be doing your own dishes. You shouldn't be cleaning your own house. You shouldn't be, I take all of that time that I could be doing all those other things, And I spend it with my son, and I spend it with my husband and my family and, you know, with friends. And so all my extra time goes into spending it with God. Like in the morning, you know, I have that time to be able to do it. Even things like coffee. So like I like to have a cup of iced coffee in the morning. I don't make it. My assistant makes it. It's in the fridge ready for me. So when I wake up, I go and I grab the iced coffee and it's already ready for me. So I don't have to do it. And the more you start thinking about every little thing that you do, and as I start mentioning them, you'll start jogging in your mind, oh yeah, I need to give up this, or I shouldn't be doing this, or I shouldn't be doing that. Was there anything else?
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, you make a lot of great points. These little tasks, you know, and certain things that we also do in regards to things like that, you know, like cleaning the house, you know, it takes a long time for you to clean your house correctly. I mean, not only just wiping down things, but vacuuming, like delegating these small tasks, you know, laundry, cutting the lawn. How many people do I see cutting the lawn every single day? That takes a good, I mean, actually, day, but every single week, that takes a good 2 to 3 hours out of your time for you to focus on your goals, your you know, path, your growth
Let
path.
me say something about the cutting your lawn. So I do coaching with people, and I coach them, and I had this one guy, and I said, so he's like, but I like, and we were talking about things he's doing. And he's like, but honestly, I actually enjoy cutting the lawn. And I said, well, why don't you come mow my lawn? And he goes, well, I don't like it that much. And I said, then you don't like it enough.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So it's like, he's saying that's kind of escape, right? Like it's an escape where he's saying, that's what, again, it's that mental, well, I don't really mind it. I kind of like it. And then you start doing that with everything. Like that's not that big of a deal. And then you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. And it's like, well, if you wouldn't be willing to cut your neighbor's lawn as well, that means you don't love it as much as you say that you love it.
Right. Wow, that's completely true.
Quick question there, Chantel, to sort of double up on that. I mean, I guess where in your business growth did it occur where you were like, I don't need to be doing X, Y, and Z, and then start cutting? And obviously you've got all the different levels of where to delegate it. At what point did you say, this is silly? Obviously you coach people, you are helping people now who are growing their business. What kind of tips do you have for the folks here tonight where do they start? You know, obviously the lawn is a great idea, and even like cleaning your house, like, do you want to spend 2 or 4 hours cleaning your house, you know, instead of, you know, actually just getting more stuff done and growing your business? You know, where did you find that, and at what stage did you finally let go?
I would say, I think getting yourself an executive assistant is probably one of the biggest game changers that you can do, because a lot of people who are entrepreneurs or trying to build their business, they don't have time to get bogged down in details of different things, and allowing them to manage your calendar and allowing them to, you know, do all the different things. And I will tell you, our COO is a perfect example that I really had to work with her on, because what she would do, I would say something like, hey, can we do this, this, and this? And she'd say, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And I said, well, I don't want you to do it. Can you get, you know, one of the admin or so-and-so to do it? And she's like, it will take me 20 minutes to explain for him to do it, but it'll take me 5 minutes to do it. And I said to her, okay, here's the problem. The first time, yes, it will take you 20 minutes to explain it. But after that, it's only going to take you, it's not going to take you the 5 minutes, right? So you're now saving that 5 minutes every single time. And that's the mindset shift, because a lot of times the number one thing is like, it'll take me longer to teach so-and-so to do it. And I never have that mentality. My mentality is, yeah, it's going to take me a little bit longer to teach this person to do it, but then I'm never going to do that again. And that's where you have to get to the mental mindset shift. And in my book, I kind of talk about where you should start as far as, should I hire an executive assistant, or should I hire another salesperson, or should I hire a marketing person, and what order that should be in for your business. But I would say that most people listening, one of the very first hires that you have to do is, if you do not have an executive assistant and you don't have a house manager, those would be your very first hires. And then I break down in the book, kind of depending on your business, should I hire sales? Should I hire marketing? Who's the next piece to hire?
That's great. Thanks.
This is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this information. It's definitely sparking a lot of cool ideas. I just want to ask, in your life right now, what do you think you should be delegating right now, or if you haven't already done so at your level?
Yeah. So for me, one of the things that this is kind of like that 90% piece. So I still meet with top agents in my company that are high performers, really top producers, or big teams, or someone who owns a large brokerage that we want to merge in with them. I would say for me, though, right now, I could still get bogged down in, sometimes one of my staff will be like, hey, I've got this small team of a couple people. Will you meet with them? And I probably should stay with kind of the larger teams. And I probably shouldn't spend my time with someone who maybe is maybe a good agent that's doing good business, but I can get myself sucked into that because one of my staff will be like, but you're so good at talking to them and you're great at casting the vision. Will you talk to them about that? And so really what I should do is I should kind of do a training video. I talk about in my book, anything that I have to say more than once, we literally have a video about it. I'm not joking. We have a video about it. So saying to that person, hey, listen, I'm not going to meet with them, but what I'd love to do, I have a video that I literally cast the vision. I say why agents don't retire. Have them, while you're on the call, have them watch that video of me. And then I'll have a group interview with a bunch of people on this day, and I can meet them face to face via Zoom, something like that. So I could get bogged down myself personally in meeting with maybe agents that weren't at the level that I should be spending my time with, if that makes sense.
100%. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, anybody else have any questions on here? Come on, unmute yourself or put a question into the chat. Don't be afraid. We're all here to listen in and learn. Can I ask you something? I actually got another question on top of my head right now, actually. So obviously you want to delegate everything and you want to start with smaller tasks and activities. You want to try to get things kind of going in that direction, trying to give back control or give away control to others. So how do you overcome taking back the control when you see that the tasks that are getting done are not getting done to your standard? How do you hold back from that?
That's a good one. That's a really good question. So first of all, you don't actually want to hold back from that because there's two pieces. What I say is if someone can do it 80% as good as you can do it, then that's wonderful. And you should be able to move on from that. Anything less, you could even say 90%, 90% done by somebody else. That's worth it. Don't be so picky. It's good enough. But some things need to have that 100%. So what you would do in that case is, in a really loving way, again, you should already have whatever that is on a video. So almost everything we do is on a training video. So what I would do is I would say, let's pretend you weren't doing something that I thought was as good. So I'd say, Victor, would you mind if I gave you some feedback on how to chop those onions? Let's pretend you were the house manager, and I love onions, but I love my onions chopped a certain way, and you just weren't doing it. I would say, would you mind if I would say, would you mind videoing this? So everything that we do, we video on either Loom, or we video on Zoom, or we video on the iPhone, and we have a videographer on staff that kind of puts all these together and makes it a nice training video. But anyway, I would say, let's go ahead and do this onion together so you can see exactly. I know I'm really picky about this, but I'd love to have the onions cut this way. And I would show you exactly how to do it. And then I would say, now, would you mind going ahead and doing them just so we can, see how well you do them as well? And just as long as you're doing it in a really loving way, people, for the most part, love feedback and they want to please you, and they want to do it the way that you want. But what happens is with delegation is people just don't say anything. So then they're like, I don't want to be so picky about these onions. So they go, never mind. I'm not going to say anything. And then you are frustrated and frustrated and frustrated. So it's really just about having great communication and saying it in the most loving way that you can, and asking for permission to give feedback on how to do it. And to be, like I said, people want to please you. So they want to know exactly how you want it. Like my house manager, she's been with us for so long. I don't ever have to give her feedback on anything ever, because she knows me so well. It's unbelievable. And she's such an amazing cook. You would not even believe, like every single thing she makes 10 times better than I could make myself. And she makes it 10 times better than I could ever dream of. So there's just literally no feedback I ever give her except, you're amazing. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. I love you. And, that sort of thing. So, but it's giving that honest feedback and going back and forth and showing them how to do it, and then letting them do it is the key.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, it's a work in progress, right? There's no perfect formula, no perfect solution, but it's taking that steps towards, that next step, that next delegation, even if it's small, guys, even if it's small. I still know doctors still ironing their own clothes. They don't even take their clothes to the laundromat. I still know, like I keep telling you guys, these little things, like Chantel said, putting gas will take you 10 or 15 minutes. Washing your car will take you another hour. Mowing the lawn will take you 2 to 3 hours a week. Like, add up those hours per week. And then imagine what you can do with that time when it's given back to you. Imagine that. And so this is what Chantel's talking about, especially in her book, guys. You guys take a good look at her book. It's in the link that we have on our landing pages. It's going to be amazing. Guys, any other questions? Anybody here? Leaders go first. So any brave souls coming out here want to say anything or have any questions before we shut it down here tonight?
I have one more question.
Sure.
Chantel, so how has, it's a little bit off topic, but like building your brand, like how does that help with your scaling or growth and what you've been doing? Because I see signs for whatever you do at like throughout Virginia Beach, like everywhere, all the time. Like I used to see the Chantel Ray. I used to hear her on the radio all the time, and then I started seeing CanZell. So like, how has that helped like your growth overall?
Yeah, so I love marketing. It's funny because there was a rumor about me that I had my degree from Harvard, and that I had my master's degree from Harvard in marketing. And someone put that out there. I'm like, no, I have my degree in math, and I've never taken a marketing course in my life. I don't even think I've ever written a marketing book. But I literally just love that aspect of marketing. And so I would say I just look at what other people do, and then I turn it into what I would like. And I would say one of the things that really helped with my growth is that when I first started in real estate, I went around 2 businesses and I figured out what people hated about real estate agents. And so I said, let me ask you, what did you hate about your real estate agent? And they would say, I hated being stuck in a long-term contract with someone that I hated. And then I would be stuck for a year and then I'd have to stay with them. And I was like, okay, let me write that down. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to make it where you're never stuck in a long-term contract at our company. And then we would have I'd ask someone else and I'd say, I hate that when I call the sign on that no one answers the phone. Like it'd be frustrating. And so I was like, okay, well, let me have it where we have from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. a live person. And so you just kind of go through what people hate about whatever profession you're in, and then you solve that problem. So that is a really big piece. So I would say with marketing is whatever your business is, figure out what the person hates about whatever it is, that what are the biggest holes in the system, and then create a company that combats all of those things. And so now we've kind of changed gears a little bit because we've made our company, instead of clients, as much client-centric, we've made it very agent-centric, so agents can run their business however they want. And so we still have something called the CanZell Certified Agent, where if you want to be a part of our Certified Agent program, you have to do all of these differences in order to do that. But we really have made it where the agents run their business how they want to run it. And so that's kind of been a shift for me. The real estate industry has really come to a place where it's a little bit of a race to the bottom, meaning, so many real estate companies have come out there to try to be like the cheapest and all of that. So it's been a very, very hard business. Real estate's been a hard business to run for sure. Like I literally think it's like one of the hardest. And to be able to open it in 20 states, like it's no wonder I have an autoimmune issue. Is all I have to say. But I will say my downfall over the last couple of years was when I realized, Chantel, your greatest gift is being able to delegate. And you somehow came back into the company and started taking on other things that you hated. And that's when I really had a hard time with my company. And then once I finally realized I'm taking off all these things that I hate and start going back to my giftedness of delegation, that's when I said, I got to write this book and really help people to go back to do that. And I think that's kind of why God allowed that to happen to me, because I was so ridiculously good at delegating. And then I had like about a year where I feel like I just didn't delegate as much because of a whole bunch of different reasons. I still did a lot. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, when I still say I never, cooked my own meals or did any of that stuff, just back in the business, I didn't do quite as much as I normally do. But I think that was what prompted me to go, man, I got to get this word out. I got to really write this book and let people really, because it'll take them to the next level. Someone wrote in the chat and they said, have you ever hired someone who at first were great, but over time they started to slow down, and you've developed a strong friendship over the years where you don't want to let them go without making an effort on your end? How have you communicated during those moments of turning the corner? 100%. And I think the way that you can do that is to go back and sit down with that person and say, I really want to revisit our KPIs, meaning our key performance indicators, and figure out what the expectations are. So, for example, we have, an inside sales team that reaches out to different agents to ask them, hey, would you consider talking to us about joining CanZell? And some of the numbers were going down because they were just, comfortable with what they were doing. And we needed to sit back down with them and say, listen, this is the level that we're expecting, and here's what we need. And so with that friendship, you have to get to a place where you can say, okay, what is it? What are the goals? Because you can't micromanage them. You have to base it on outcomes. What is the outcomes that you want? And then you have to say, what is the goal? And then as long as they're hitting that goal, then they need to stay employed with you. But if they're not hitting that goal, then you need to have a hard conversation that says, I love you. You're one of my really good friends, and I don't want this to come into our friendship. But, for the business, we either need to move you to a different role where you can succeed at, or we need to get your numbers up to X amount because that's what's best for the business. And you have to do that in a way where it's always, this is what's best for the business. And we want to work together so that we can create these goals. And then I want to be here to help hold your hand to be able to have you hit those goals. And a lot of that's about accountability. And I have a whole section on accountability of that perfect balance of not micromanaging, but also holding someone accountable in the book. Any other questions?
We got another one in
Okay.
that chat box.
Oh, okay. This is a great question. How do you decide how much to spend on a delegating budget? So what I would do is figure out how much you're making an hour and then take 50% of whatever, let's say you're making $100 an hour. Then what you want to do is take 50% of that money, 50% of that cost, and say, okay, I make $100 an hour. Anything that I can get done working for $50 or less an hour, that's going to be a win for me, because I can then just work maybe even 2 extra hours this week, and I've freed up my time doing that. So if it's 1/4, 25%, that's a huge win, right? But if you can at least get it to 50%, that would be a great win. So you would just start by saying, okay, this week I'm going to spend, 10 hours a week doing this, 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 and this. And then you just keep it going, because the key is it's about the more that you can delegate these items means that you can then use that to start doing these higher dollar activity items to start making more. But you have to be able to believe in yourself that it's going to take a couple months. So you want to give yourself that grace that you're going to be able to do that. And you have to think also about, it's not only about how much more money you're going to make, but it's also about how much time you're going to be able to spend with the people that you love the most. Time with your friends, time with your husband, quality time with your kids, of what you're going to be able to do that with. So it's a combination of both. But I would first start with at least, depending on how much you're making, start taking, for me, I would start at least at 20 hours a week with either a house manager or an executive assistant, and then just keep working yourself up from there.
Fantastic question and answer, guys. Thank you so much for participating here. Everybody else, got anything else on their mind that they want to ask Chantel while she's here? Going once, twice. Hey, Soph, I think it's time for that wheel. Do we got that wheel ready to go tonight for all these folks that stayed out here for us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Chantel, you're not going to be on this list. I'm sorry. We usually give away prize to somebody who shows up, but we're going to send you something specifically. I know Vic's left right down the street, so he can definitely help you out with that. So I'm going to share my screen, and you guys are going to get to see. All right, perfect. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, spin.
Oh, this is so cute. I love this. Yay,
Crystal. All right, Crystal.
All right.
Awesome. Congratulations, Crystal. Our team will get with you, or Sophie, and she can connect with you somehow, maybe on social, and then we can get the information so we can get Crystal something nice. Thank you for being here, Crystal, and thank you everybody for being here tonight. We really do appreciate you guys for spending your time, your energy. Chantel, thank you so much for all the guidance and all the actual steps and strategies. Guys, look up Chantel, look at her book, get her book. This is fantastic guidance. And although some of the things sometimes seem undoable, if you just start with one step at a time, you know, your focus goes in that direction. Where focus goes, energy flows. And just getting your time back is more important than anything else.
Yeah. And I will say this, I have a website called delegatemystuff.com. And back to what I said, that delegatemystuff.com, must hire someone for 1 hour a week or 1 hour per day or however you want to do it. Just start with something, as far as it's admin time basically for that. But start somewhere and keep adding on, just keep increasing. But it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Hope you guys got some good tips on here.
That's awesome. Thank you, Chantel. Thank you, everybody. Really do appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Real Life Leadership. If you'd like to get the show notes or access more resources, log on to reallifeleaders.com/podcast to get the show notes from this episode and any other resources we might have mentioned. And also, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to review or rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts to help spread the word. And if you have any leadership questions you want answered, email podcast@reallifeleaders.com.